What's up, man? What's going on, man? This is My Muscle Mastery, and I am Coach Bay. Good to see y'all, man. As always, man, we in the building. The Queen, man, is out tonight. Man, there's plenty of news, plenty of things to go. There's always plenty of things going on, man. I'm gonna tell you, in this mad world, especially with the administration that we got, man, it's usually a ton of things going on. As you can see, we got a big election night, man. It's Tuesday, big election night, big primary night, man. We got the elections planned, the results up in the corner, man. They may get mad at me for that, but I'm bringing it to you live. Uh, if I hear about it, I hear about it, man. But I believe that the people should know about it. So tonight, man, we're going to talk about obviously the elections. That's the first thing I just mentioned. We're going to talk about particular candidates in the election. Obviously, we're going to talk about health. We're going to give you a little bit of the tidbits, man. Just a little bit. We're going to go back into the Carmelo Anthony situation, the Carmelo Anthony case. We're going to delve off into it briefly, and I'm going to bring you the latest updates. So we got plenty to talk about, man. The Iran war, it appears to be widening, man. The Houthis are doing things, man. Apparently, while that's going on, our president is making some deals with Hamas to get them to settle down and de-arm over there. It's always a conflict with that. Israel is not with the deal. They're like, hell, we the ones over here that has to deal with Hamas. So that's always a conflict thing, and Trump always feels he's right. But that's our president. That's the Don, right? So, you know, ain't always right, but he's found that out over his life. You just don't be the fool, man, that thinks he's always right. So plenty going on, man. Couple videos, couple things. I've got an interview coming up. We've got a live show coming up on Thursdays, man, on TikTok, on Facebook, and X, and YouTube. That's on Thursday at 8 o'clock. Again, we got an office getting built. I mean, an office is getting done. It ain't being built. It's in this lovely, you know, two bedroom. One of the bedrooms is going to be an office. Going to be a podcast room. So we thank God for that space, man, to bring that to you guys. Shout out, man, to everybody who is out there, man. It's always a shout out to those struggling, to the homeless, the addicts still suffering, man. Shout out to those, man, who are being successful today, who are chasing their dreams and catching them. I am a life coach, exercise recovery specialist, nutritionist, personal trainer, man. So I always and should always have something uh, positive to say, but as well as something real to say. Because one thing about it, man, we know that every day in our lives and every moment, it just don't seem positive. So to sit here and say or pretend that it is, would just be, somebody pretending, and we all know that that's not me. So we're gonna go to a break, man. When we come back, we'll break down some of this election news. Give you guys some insights, man. Always from a position, man, where you can understand from someone coming, walking, and talking, just like the people, man, just like that. So this is My Muscle Mastery. We'll talk to you in a minute. Be right back. Okay, so first and foremost, man, yeah, and up there is election results. But first and foremost, let's make that one a little smaller. First and foremost, we're gonna delve into the newest results having to do with the Carmelo Anthony case. If you do not recall who or what the Carmelo Anthony case is about, uh, I'll tell you tonight, man. It was a shocking murder case. To be honest, down in Texas, and tonight that same shocking murder case really is completely imploded. To be honest, you had people, everybody who it looked like it was an open and shut case, an open and shut conviction, and a new full blown constitutional war really has broke out. You have claims of agreements that weren't kept. You have uh, individuals who say that Carmelo would have taken the stand had these agreements been kept in his own defense. Uh, High-powered legal team has been put in place. Carmelo will be going back. There's some real heavy stuff going on in the next few weeks with the case. Uh, for months the public was barred from seeing why Carmelo was sentenced to 35 years for stabbing a high school athlete. But just the other day, 6 gigabytes of newly released trial evidence just went public. And I can tell you, we've seen it. You've probably seen it. If you haven't, it's simply Carmelo uh, talking about the case, really just saying that he did it. I told him not to put his hands on me. He did it anyway. He was getting in the police car. Uh, so I mean, it really nothing. I've seen the video. Really nothing. uh, too crazy. When I tell you what, when we come back from the break, uh, I'll try to put that video on for you to check it out yourself. Again, up here we got election stuff going on. You got we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna dive off in. I ain't gonna just keep telling you all election stuff. I'm gonna dive off into who was in the election, who's winning, who's losing, and why it's even news in the first place. So again, back to the Carmelo Anthony situation. So the crime and the twist, we finally have the video. We finally have the video. Uh, the body cam footage is out now. The moment that Anthony tells the police I did it is out now. That's as I just told you. I've seen the video. He says I did it. Uh, but here's the massive twist you won't hear anywhere else but here tonight, right? Anthony's new high-powered legal team says he should have never been convicted. And no matter what you think about the case, particularly, anytime you have anytime you have an agreement, or anytime you have any type of legal agreement or legal anything for the most part, uh, then you absolutely want to keep that agreement. You can't just, in legal terms, in legal sense, you can't just have an agreement and not keep the agreement. So that's the thing about it. And even though the agreement is questionable, they're saying because the agreement uh, was not on paper. It was a gentleman's agreement, as they say. In the back room, the prosecutor and the lawyer made an agreement, and the prosecution says that the defense is the one that reneged on the agreement. They did something they wasn't supposed to do. So prosecution came back. Basically, the result was Carmelo Anthony was given like 10 minutes to decide whether he wanted to get on the stand to defend himself or not, and he chose not to. So his defense is saying, you had him up against the wall, you had him scared, you had him confused, and he made the decision not to, which he could have saved his own life. So they are exposing a secret backroom gentleman's agreement that completely gagged the defense from bringing up allegations of bullying and racism. The judicial scandal, it gets deeper, right? The judge is now facing a motion to be kicked off the case. Why? Because after the verdict, he went on local TV and explicitly told a reporter that the jury got it right. As a uh, judge, or any officer of the court, anyone with a position as far as public service, who is dealing with cases, things of that nature, you can have an opinion. Obviously, you're a human being. You're just not supposed to express that opinion publicly. As a judge, you are supposed to be impartial. So him expressing that publicly, obviously gives Carmelo's trial team the opportunity to say, well, he was biased. Plus, the guy had a relationship with the victim's family. So, I mean, how does it look as far as his appeal is concerned? I mean, it looks so far. It looks like. I mean, it looks interesting. I can't sit here and say that it's not going to happen. I can't sit here and say that it is. But what I can say is, you know, I'd like. I wish I was in that room to know more about that agreement and why the prosecution chose not to. It gets deeper though. The judge is now facing a motion to be kicked off the case. Why? Because after the verdict, she went out and told the people that the jury did the right thing. So again, the defense is saying this is bias, and a senior judge will rule on moving him in a high stakes hearing on August 19th. So one of the biggest hearings I can tell you right now, one of the biggest hearings in the Carmelo Anthony trial and the big Carmelo Anthony retrial, uh, the possibility of a retrial. One of the biggest things in that decision making process is going to occur on the 19th of August, and that is when they determine if they're going to force the judge to recuse himself. If the judge has to recuse himself, a new judge will step in. And more than likely, it's already been said that his defense team will move in for a full retrial, which will probably happen based on that decision with the judge. So, I mean, it's gonna be an interesting week, interesting couple weeks waiting on a decision, seeing what happens with the courts. For me, it was a case that I didn't. We reported on it. We reported on it again. We kept up with the facts. I was sad as to how the case took place, simply for the victim and for Carmelo Anthony, his family. Now, you know, things are being twisted and turned, man, as they always do in the wash, and things are coming out, man. So, one thing about it, man, the truth will always come out, man. The truth will always come out uh in the wash, man. So always fight for it though. As I tell you, Garvey said, up, up, man, you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. So always be fighters for the truth and participators of in the truth. Uh so yeah, must knows, man, what you must know. The case is far from over. The Carmelo Anthony case is far from over. If you thought it was over, no matter what your opinion was, left or right, if you thought it was over, it's not. It's far from being over. So keep your ears perked up, man. Keep mind muscle mastery on your tune, man, on your podcast. I told you, we going big, man. I told you, Office Space back here, man. Live on Thursdays at 8 o'clock on 3, 4 platforms: Facebook Live, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. That's just on Thursdays. Otherwise, you continue to find the podcast where you find them. Again, things will look a little different in back of us, but it'll be the same podcast. You'll see the posters back up and things of that nature. Uh, no small business, man. Nothing small for y'all. We do a lot of research to get the information that we bring. We do a lot of homework. We do a lot of fact checking. So start out, man. As you hear me always say, it's about health. First and foremost, the state of black health. The last 3 sessions was uh, Diabetes Decoded. I hope you took part in those. You can find them wherever you get your podcast. We went live on that 10th session. I think that 10th episode, I think that confused a lot of people. Uh, that live is still playing though on those platforms. So if you missed that live, that 10th episode, man, that part 3 of that 3-part series, get back out there, man. Get on there and check that out on YouTube, TikTok, uh, X, wherever you catch your social media outlets at, man. Facebook Live on our page. Uh, so the key facts, uh, the case is far from over, man. While the public is reacting to newly released graphic evidence, the real legal drama is an upcoming high stakes showdown on August 19th through the 20th, which could entirely throw out Anthony's 35-year prison sentence, man. That's what it is, So August 19th, man, and August 20th, you know, save the date, man. If you follow this case, man, then of course we'll bring you the facts right out the gate. You can always find the facts here, man. I always brought in a fashion, man, that you can understand. Uh, we're gonna take a break. Gonna take a break. Hold on. Let me check out one more thing. What does it say? Some key fast facts. The crime: 19-year-old Carmelo Anthony was convicted in June of 2026 this year for first-degree murder of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. He was stabbed. Austin was. We say both of those individuals' names on this podcast because they were both victims. In my eyes, uh, Austin was stabbed. Anthony stabbed Metcalf during a seating dispute under a team tent at a April 25 high school track meet in Frisco, Texas. I'm gonna say it was a little bit more than a seating dispute. The seating dispute was just what was going on right there. Uh, Much more to it than the seating dispute. There had been a past with these two young men that I wish had been uh, dealt with in a different way by the parents. The twist is Anthony's original trial team has been replaced by a powerhouse pro bono group of high-profile civil rights and appellate lawyers. So the resources, man, have got big and bold, and they're being used. And that's what we call for, man. That's always what we call for. We don't call for no favoritism. We don't call for no. We don't want nothing we don't deserve. We don't want nothing we ain't worked for. At least Coach Bay doesn't, and those who follow this podcast. Those who are seeking to be a master, man, in this transformation process, of mind muscle mastery, right? It's a process. There is no becoming a master just right out the door, right? The only even Jesus himself, even Jesus had to become the Christ, right? He had to become that master. And shout out to the Christ, man. Uh, so the broken gentleman's agreement, man, that's gonna be the thing. That's one of the big factors, one of the big things that the defense is on as far as the grounds that they're looking for. What happened with that? In the Carmelo case, there was a sworn affidavit from Anthony's original defense attorney revealed a secret off the record handshake deal made by prosecutors before the trial. Right? There was a handshake deal made by the prosecutors before the trial. The terms both sides agreed to keep the character and reputations of both teams out of court. Right? So it was just gonna be gray. Ain't no color. Ain't no character, right? But they're gonna keep the character and reputations of both teams out of court. Do you have to ask me? Well, why would they do that, Coach Bay? Well, obviously they both had something in their backgrounds that was derogatory. From what I understand, there was some racial slurs in one, there was bullying, there was a bunch of shit. Excuse my language, a bunch of things. So, uh, this effectively gagged reporters and jurors from hearing allegations that the victim and his brother had a history of bullying and racism. In exchange, Anthony's phone records and school disciplinary files stayed sealed. So the boys, the victim, the Metcalf family, Austin Metcalf, and his brother had a history of bullying and racism. They had bullied Carmelo, over time. So that was the situation with that. Uh, so the defense claims prosecutors backed out of this deal at the final hour, leaving Anthony completely unprepared and effectively pressuring him not to testify in his own defense. Some legal experts note he was reportedly given just 10 minutes to make the life altering choice. Okay, so if you are given 10 minutes in a case where I would imagine he felt like he was being treated totally unfairly. He had been bullied by this boy. They had pushed him down on this particular day that he stabbed him. And in a situation, obviously, the 19-year-old is overwhelmed with, you don't really understand. He wasn't a criminal. Uh, and I don't believe he's a criminal now. So, this 19-year-old was given 10 minutes to decide whether he wants to get on the stand. Also, with these defense people telling him, it gets confusing. Trust me, one thing about Coach Bay, I've been there, I've done that. When I mentor youth, when I life coach individuals, man, it's from a view of knowing and doing. It is unique to me, man, having done and been down the roads that I've been through and able to bring this to you now as a certified individual and uh, respected, read about, you know, Brains magazine, just shit like that. Uh, giving God really all the glory, man. But that's just like you always hear me talk to the youth about what you can do. Don't make your next decision be your last decision, man. Uh, you need some guidance, give us a call. We're always here. So uh so that was the broken agreement, right? The next thing is the battle to remove the judge. The allegation the defense is moving to recuse Judge John Rhodes Jr. from pretrial proceedings due to public bias. The evidence is, as I told you earlier, he did a interview with a news station after the trial took place, or after the court disposition took place, saying that the juror did the right thing by convicting Camelo, that it's biased. You cannot state those type of things as a judge. You can have an opinion, but it's not a public bias opinion. So, uh, so on Wednesday they're going to rule on that. Again, like I told you, if he gets kicked out, that's something to look to. Whatever side you on, I'd like to see justice for each side and get this out the news, get it off the table, so people from either side can quit drawing energy from it that they don't deserve or that doesn't belong out in the atmosphere, especially if you own some bull. So again, so that's what's coming up on the 19th. So why it's trending? The case has touched a major national nerve regarding interracial violence and systematic fairness. Public outrage surged after 0 black jurors were selected for the trial. I don't know how that even happened, but zero black jurors were selected for the trial, despite defense objections, and other communities, man, were questioning podcasts, and social media communities were fiercely split between demanding justice for Metcalf and demanding freedom for Anthony under self-defense laws. So what happens next, man, is the timeline. Just look forward to the 8th, the 19th, and the 20th. Keep your eye on the immediate timeline. The deadline for official trial transcripts to be submitted to the Court of Appeals is this week, August 8th, which is in 4 days. If the defense wins in motions to recuse the judge, they will argue their formal motion for a full retrial on August 20th. So that's what's going on with the latest on Carmelo Anthony. We will be back. Fightland. Fightland is a show that is produced by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. It is all over your timeline, I'm quite sure. We will start reviewing movies and shows, man, and talking about them on here as far as different movies that come out. Fightland is decent. I can tell you that now. Uh, the first show, man, had some twists and some turns. If you like that, that guru, man, that violence, that hood, if you like power, man, stuff like that, it's for you. Uh, Hell of a plot, man. As a boxer, man, I ain't gonna tell you too much, man. As a boxer, man, that he got to face his own sins, man. You got to face your own sins sometime. But that's what's up, man. Shout out to 50, man. Shout out to Yayo, man, with the show coming out, the food show. Uh, you know, I'm gonna tell you, man. I give shots out, 5-6 times a show. Uh, to different individuals. Shout out to Mr. 4000 down in Kansas City. I shout out, man, those who are doing positive things and those who are active. Shout out to the popper for that hashtag. Those who are active, because one thing about it, it's easy to uh sit back and talk about what you will do, uh what you won't do, what you would have done, and all of that. But action speaks louder than words. So one thing about it, uh, if you're about to struggle, if you're about the fight that's going on, then we can see that. One thing about it, there's a fight going on out there, man. And if you can't see it, then that just lets me know that it's even more of that important for me to be on the microphone, for other kings and queens to be on the microphone, because we will be the ones leading you through uh, the danger, right? We will be the one navigating you through the danger. Those of us that have studied, right? The watchmen, as they call it in the good book, right? Those who have studied, right? Those who have followed, those who have led, right? And are leading now. So with these elections, uh, on the national level, we all know that since Mandami was elected, and shout out to Zoran, since he was elected, man, there's been a lot of talk about socialists and things of that nature, man. The crazy left, what they want to do, what they believe in, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be the first person to say, some of the stuff that the left believes in and wants is not cool. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith, man, today or yesterday, who made a statement about men playing in women's sports. That's not cool. I don't know where you got that from. I don't even know where that comes from. Man playing. Why would a man? Can you make sense of that? Why would a man be able to play sports on a woman's team? You know, I don't understand it. I don't even understand why you would think that would be okay. But okay, it's not though. Not here. There are places I'm quite sure that it is, but not here on this podcast. So women, you should have your sports to yourself. Uh, on this podcast, we believe that there should be two bathrooms, maybe one for the family where you want to go take the baby to, clean him, clean her. You know what I mean? It can be a neutral spot, but there should be a man's bathroom and a woman's bathroom. Uh, so yeah, you know that's where we're at with it. So yeah, I'm looking at the dials and the lines. Y'all watch the TV. The TV is on. So with these elections, as I said, from Mandami, then from Mandani, you had they were screaming socialists, and you had some other people. You had some people that he endorsed then that won that they say are socialists. But I believe what you're getting and what you're seeing, man, it's just simply a change. Right, tonight is such a big name tonight in elections, and a big place is over in Michigan, uh, where you had Il Said, a 41-year-old physician, son of Egyptian immigrants, the former Detroit public health director, and he's running the Michigan Democratic U.S. Senate primary to replace retiring Senator Gary Peters. If elected in November, he would make history as the first Muslim senator in U.S. history. The first Muslim senator in U.S. history. Come on, man. So, you have those who are used to the norm, right? You have those who are used to the norm. Is that what it is? Is that why the horns are going off? That about socialists and these people are crazy and want crazy things. Is it the establishment that doesn't want to see change? You know, it's some of that. You can bet that. It's some of that, and you can bet that. But there's a lot of crazy things or things that I'll say crazy. I mean, it's my podcast. I'll say crazy. There's some crazy things that some of these people want that is crazy. I'm like, no rent. What about the landlords? I mean, who gonna pay? The government gonna pay for everything? How that gonna happen? AI we gonna charge it. We gonna tax AI. I don't listen. Some of this craziness, man. Like the boys and girls sports, all that nonsense, man. Is just that. We're not gonna let ourselves be drugged too far to the left, and we're not gonna let criminals continue to uh, populate the White House. You know, when this term is over, man, I hope everybody is watching, learning, and prepared to vote. I hope you are prepared to vote this November. We need everybody to vote this November, man. Everybody. There can be nobody sitting on the sidelines because if you said anything, and I think I said this on the last election, if you said anything over this term, you were unhappy with anything over this term and the things that you can see perpetually happening. We continue to get robbed or we getting robbed by the very man who stands on the podium and says he represents us. By the very man who's been convicted of raping women and kicking it with pedophiles and all of these things, right? These are facts about the gentleman. These aren't things that we're wondering about him. These are facts that we know. We know that years ago the man was talking about he can do anything he wants, grab him by the pussy and all of that type of thing. Excuse my language. And if that offended you, I hope that the president offends you as well. I hope that he offends you so much that in November that you race to the polls, right, and support those who are against this criminal regime, right? So we're gonna take a break, man. When I come back, we're gonna talk about Abdul Il Zaid, man, of Michigan, possibly the first. Let's take a look up here. This is Mind Muscle Mastery, man. You see that? He is still in the lead. 48-46. And we'll talk about Haley Stevens, the young lady he is up against. She's just an establishment candidate. She's been, I think, 4 years in Congress. She's the establishment. Whatever. I'm gonna tell you, ain't no party innocent. Republican, Democrat, Independent. If you think that Donald Trump got a mafia and things that they doing mob ways and all that, it's done on all sides. He's just the first person to do it, man, out in the open, expose it, do it so criminally, right? I tell you, the servant is worthy of his hire. So sometimes that stuff that he get, that's not illegal. Sometimes that stuff that you see that presidents get, they earn, it's all good. This is the president, man. He deserves, compensation for that. But you can't, take jets from Qatar and steal crypto money and you just can't do it. Can't do it. Don't even ask where the Democratic Party is going as far as socialists. If you ain't asking, complaining, crying, screaming about what is going on with the Trump administration. If you ain't got something to say about the money you ain't getting, he getting it, you ain't getting it, you struggling. He getting filthy, his family getting filthy, and trying to put agreements on the table where they can't never be challenged about the filthiness and how filthy they get. Shrewd, man, shrewd. This is the Don, right? This is the Don. I call him the Don, man. I followed the man for years. He's your president. You voted for him. He's a gangster, and that's how he's operating. We'll be back, man. Yeah, so we back, man, and shout out to Bernie Sanders, for backing, man, these new candidates, man, these new bloods out there that's trying to get out there. We can't keep having these same old people 10, 15, 20 years in Congress, man. We got to let this fresh blood in. We got to let these new ideals in, man. We got to, in my opinion, man, if the Supreme Court's going to continue to act the way it's been acting, we're going to have to even it out. These are just recorrecting things that this administration has done or destroyed. The normalcy of things, has been destroyed. And what other men, because we're simply human, we are men, right? So what other men have seen Donald Trump do, there would be a man or a woman running for the same office. And men love to follow and not to lead. So we don't want the next person. We're gonna have to watch them closely. You know, Temptation is something, right? Uh, so El Zayed, right out of Michigan, man, potentially is going to be the first Muslim senator in U.S. history, man. Shout out to the brother. I don't have any plex, and we don't have any plex on this show about your religion, man, or none of that type of thing. You know, what you choose as far as your sex is concerned. You know, shout out, man, to all my LBGT community. It ain't, you know, when we talk about man and women's sports, it ain't about what you choose as far as your sexual orientation or what you want to be. You just can't take your big ass in that ring with that girl. Simple as that. You can't take your masculine ass in the ring with that woman. That's all that is. And if you mad at me about that, then you just mad. You know, so uh, so you know, El Zayed, man, is a progressive populist. He's backed by heavyweight progressives like Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. Shout out, man, to Ocasio Cortez, man. She's no matter what you think of the woman, man, she's staying relevant. You know what I mean? She's standing in the fight. He is running on a single payer health care, establishing ICE and aggressive campaign finance reform. I love the single payer health care. I don't know about the abolishing ICE. I think we need to reform ICE though, not abolish it. And aggressive campaign finance reform, I'm all for that, man, because it's too much dark money in the election. Too many people are able to stick their hand in the pot. As you can see, you know, during the inauguration of the dawn of Donald Trump, you had Google CEOs sitting behind him. You had Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. You had all the meetings there, all the meet. Every time you see him somewhere in the White House, he's got, you know, Elon Musk, or he's got Rupert Murdoch. He's got, you know, he's surrounded, man, by the elites, man, and those who can pay for him. Now, you know, those who can pay him. Now, you can say I go too far by saying pay him, but no. Now we know that I don't go too far by saying that because we see him getting paid, man. Just, you know, out the wazoo from several different places, different people. You know, but again, you know, if you got a problem with all this, then you know, see yourself to the polls come this November. Uh, this isn't just a local race. This is a massive referendum on the 2028 Democratic presidential horizon, right? Because right now the Democrats are having a hell of a time even putting forth anybody who looking like they got the good God-given common sense of a Barack Obama, right? You know, that type of leverage, that type of skill, that type of wisdom, that type of finesse, right? Or even the type of sincerity of a Joe Biden. Not the decline, but the type of sincerity and heart of a Joe Biden. You know, we're not talking about a Pontius Pilate. We're not talking about a Pharaoh. You know, we're not talking about a cruel, evil king, right? Who snatches the food away from, you know, the kingdoms around him, the nations around him who suffer. You know what I mean? Who already bowed their knee. You know, we're not talking about a cruel, selfish king, man, who rains bombs, you know, down on the Gaza Strip or allows them to be rained down in hopes that possibly you have a hotel built there. You know, you and your rich friends, right? So, you know, shout out to El Zayed, man. It's a change on the horizon, man. It's real simple. People are tired. You know, people are tired. People are seeing what they never thought they would see with this administration. We really don't know how far it's gonna go. We're only in the first half of it. We're only in the first half of it. We have 2 years to go. We really don't know where we're going. If you're a Christian or one of a religious belief, you know you don't know where we are right now because I've studied several religions. Right before I was a personal trainer, I was a religious head. You know, so the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Torah, the Quran, the Bible. You know, the Book of Levi. All these things one has studied, so we don't really know where we are. But I suggest that you continue to keep your eyes closed, stay woke, you know, and watch what's going on in front of you. You know, but you know, I say it all the time, every week. You know, be prepared. Your health is everything. Without your health, you are nothing. You know, you can be as gangster as you think you are, but without your health, you are nothing. Prepare to protect your family. Prepare to protect your children and your queen, no matter what your nationality is. Right? We are in uncharted territory. Uncharted territory. So let's talk about El Zayed, man. He's not the establishment. He didn't have all the money, man. The young lady, the moderate establishment, Representative Haley Stevens, a four-term congresswoman backed by Governor Gretchen Whitmer. We all know that's the governor of Michigan. Shout out to Gretchen, man. You know, them guys tried to plot and kidnap her some years back. Some of Trump's guys. Matter of fact, some of Trump's guys. You know, we'll talk about that one day. So she was backed by Whitmer. She was backed by Chuck Schumer, the Senate leader. She has a massive financial advantage with outside moderate super PAC spending upwards of $33 million to back her. They do not want this Muslim brother in office. It's just that simple. You know, let's take a look. He's still winning. He's still winning. You see that? He's still winning 49 to 46. And we got 45% of the voting. He's still winning. Down there in Missouri, I tell you, I was surprised to find out that the former squad member, Corey Bush, was moving to get Wesley, who was a brother down there in St. Louis, removed. She's going up against him. Now, I don't know what's up with that. But that was pretty crazy. Bush lost. Wesley maintains his seat. But that was crazy. Shout out to Corey Bush. He's trying to make a comeback. One of these days, man, we'll have to have her on the podcast. But she was trying to make a comeback. That did not happen tonight. However, Wesley did defeat her down there in St. Louis. This, as I said, this is a referendum on the 2028 Democratic presidential rising because there is nobody. Who you gonna vote for? Who is the Democrats gonna put up for president that right now has a strong position other than Gavin Newsom? Shout out to Gavin. Shout out to Gavin Newsom. You know what I mean? Gavin Newsom, man, you have Shapiro, you have some individuals, man, with some straight up character. But first of all, we gotta get our own people straight, we need a stronger Hakeem Jeffries over there in the Democratic Party. I'm on the other side, but y'all need a stronger Hakeem Jeffries, man. If somebody's going to lead the Democratic Party, man, they got to be at least 75, 80% tough as Trump, at least tough as he thinks he is. So, some of the other races going on, the secondary progressive versus moderate proxy wars happening in Detroit. The matchup, multi-millionaire businessman and incumbent Representative Sherry Sandor is facing a fierce primary challenge from progressive state rep Donovan McKinney. McKinney has cornered endorsements from Bernie Sanders and Rashid Tlaib by attacking Thurman's corporate ties. So there are fights going on, man. I want you to understand that behind these podcast mics, behind these races, man, and behind these doors, all over America, there are fights going on, man. And it may not seem like it. You may look on there and think that you see Trump winning all the time. But that's how sometimes it seems in life, man, that the bad is winning all the time. But if you stay down, I assure you, if you stay down, man, that a lot of things that you wish for and ask for, will come your way. Work your way to them. Don't give back, don't give up, don't sit back and wait on something to be given to you, to be brought to you. Work your way to them. Put one foot in front of the other. My grandmother used to tell me, you put one foot towards the Lord, baby, he'll take two steps towards you. And make that your thing in life, man. Anything that you want in life, you make sure that you're taking a step towards it, man. Each and every day, each and every opportunity that you get, 2 steps, and let that thing make 1 step towards you, that thing that you're going after, because nothing's easy. And if we maintain that type of thought, that nothing is easy, man, and the fight is on, the good fight, the good fight. Shout out to John Lewis, man, the good fight, good trouble is on, and that's what time it is. So we're going to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to close it down. We'll be back in a minute, man. Mind Muscle Mastery, Coach Bay. So we're gonna take these last couple minutes, and I want to speak directly to the youth. all over the globe, man. And shout out to our people in Singapore. Shout out to our people overseas. Shout out to our people in New York, Chicago, LA, all our listeners, man, all over the world. To young men, uh, brown, black, Asian, understand me, to young ladies. And nowadays in this modern time, so many young ladies are involved with these killings and these murders, man, and being killed. And it's crazy. In the years that I grew up, man, in the age I grew up, women and children were protected. Uh, down in my city, Kansas City, man, it seems that uh, the guilt, man, and the fame, the guilt and the honor are all misplaced. The shame and the honor are being misplaced. You honor a man as a king or honor a woman as a queen for taking a young life, man, without regard, without opportunity for compromise, without opportunity to discuss, without opportunity to do what adults do, talk about their problems, right? Everything is not handled by a gun. And trust me, today I have to tell you that, right? Because at one point, that was the way I wanted to handle everything. But that's why God sent me in front of a microphone. That's why I'll be in the office in front of posters when we do a podcast. And Coach Bay will tell you, I've made the mistake for you, young black boy, young white boy, young Hispanic boy. I've made the mistake for you. You can get in contact with me and we'll talk about it. But down in my hometown, there's so many places. Shout out to Kansas City. Shout out to Chicago. The honor and the shame are all misplaced. You honor a man or a woman as a king for taking a life, when they should be shamed. And I want you to understand, Kansas City, the same energy. I want you to understand, Chicago, New York, the same energy that it takes to get together, put candles together, put together marches, put together T-shirts, put together balloon releases. All this energy, right? All that takes energy. And that same energy can be kindled and put together in thought, directed in the right fashion, in the right way, man. That energy can be directed, man, into stopping some of these murders and stopping some of this violence. You say, Coach Bay, how do you do that? Well, you got to fight back, just like you're trying to fight back in different situations about what's going on in your government. Fight back of what's going on in your home. Fight back of what's going on in your community. And I said home first because it's home before it's your community. You hear me say all the time that charity starts at home before it spreads to the community. Clean up your household. Talk to your son, talk to your nephew, talk to your daughter. And I'm tired of talking to them. Start putting your foot down. If you out there in the life of crime and you my son or daughter, things can be removed from you. I don't have to pay for none of this. If I'm your baby mama, if I'm your baby daddy, I don't have to give you none. I don't have to be a part of what you're doing. I don't have to show you love anymore. If I'm serious about where I stand as a king and a queen for my community, then show something. Shake up your house, because if you're a Christian, what does it tell you? That it'll be the members of your own household. Father against son, mother against daughter, right? We're talking about a double-edged sword. Why is it a double-edged sword? Because it's going to cut people with the truth, man. It's going to cut lies. It's going to expose individuals, right? You can't be right and bad at the same time, right? So, understand that same energy, man, that same energy, find ways, man, to find ways to come at that energy, man, with that same energy. You know, find ways to distract that negative energy, man. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to fight back. There's going to be discomfort. There's going to be sacrifice. But believe you me, if that man starts coming in the house and you know that man is out there in that type of life and he may be doing these type of things, and you start talking to him about, man, the possibility that I may have to step out, especially if we have a child, man, but for my life. So often we find that, or we see that young lady who is in a situation with that young man, and she is murdered or something happens to her, or vice versa. The young lady is doing something the young man don't know about, right? So let's start directing some of that energy back, man, into it. Let's start fighting back, right? Kings of your household, man. Let's establish rules for our daughters and our sons. Let's get strict, man. Let's start shutting this down. Let's start using our resources to direct them straight to resources, straight to schools. Let's start pouring our money into programs. Put them in the program, keep them in the program. The same money you put on wheels and all that, make sure the programs is paid for first. Make sure if it's a private school, it's paid for first. we got to go after this. We got to go after it, man. We got to get our nation, save our nation. Right? We got to save our nation, baby, because they trying to get, they trying to do away with us and everything that look like us. That's just a fact. Right now, like I tell you all the time, it's the Hispanic nation that they chasing up and down the street. But that ain't all they want. They just know that the African nation, man, gonna put up much more of a fight, but that ain't all they want. I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. This is Mind Muscle Mastery. So down there in my city, man, yo, you know, shout out, man, to all the artists putting on shows and everything, man. Shout out to the mayor trying to do what he do. Shout out to every man that's got a voice, every woman, man, that's got a voice in the fight. And man, let's keep fighting, man. This is Coach Bay, Mind Muscle Mastery Podcast, man. Don't forget we live on Thursdays at 8 o'clock on several platforms. This here will come out, man, wherever you get your podcast at. Obviously, it's not Thursday. We love y'all, man. Talk to you soon. Stay out of trouble.